You're seeing this in the schools. This was a story that came out about a week ago. I did my best to avoid getting to this story, but I think we actually have to get to it. The clip is all over the place, and I've censored it liberally so that you don't have to hear too much of this gross lesson. This is a high school teacher in Southern California giving a lesson on pleasing an orifice of the body.
You don't have to go inside the you can actually just push on the seam, and that stimulates the gland as well, and that they apparently really like that. But yeah, so that's why for male and male, is still very pleasurable because of the fact that it hits the and there's a lot of nerve endings in your booty as well. So the girls, the prostate, they're the equivalent to each other, but apparently that's why if you ever see, like, I mean, Target has them now, sex toys. If you go to Target, seriously, if you go to Target and go where the tampons and pads are, they just look like a little box, but if you open up, there's like a Velcro front to the box, you open it up, and then bam, sex toy.
Okay, you get the idea. There's more to the video, but you can use your imagination to fill in the blanks in what else she's saying. She's giving the students this very graphic, instructive lesson on how to engage in deviant sexual practices that are not oriented towards, say, the good of the spouses and the generation and the education of children, traditionally understood as the telos of sexual relations, the purpose of sexual relations, but on how to titillate people in ways by putting things where they're not supposed to go. So some parents are up in arms about this. The teacher has been placed on administrative leave, but students are defending the teacher. A student said, quote, "As a student in the video, I would like to say that everything taught by our teacher is educational. This is an anatomy physiology class. And people shouldn't put her on leave and she should be rehired." And I got to tell you, oddly enough, I'm with the students. I'm kind of on the teacher's side here. This is a gross lesson. It obviously shouldn't be taught in high schools. It obviously shouldn't be taught at taxpayer expense. The kids are getting a bad education here. The woman is bad at her job if her job is educating people. But she's pretty good at her job if her job is following the lesson plans that her bosses set out. The woman is just doing the job that was established by the school boards, by the state, now when we're talking about California, and by our culture more broadly. She's teaching a class on anatomy and physiology. We have classes on sexual education. Sexual education now no longer has a moral aspect to it in the traditional sense. I guess it has a moral aspect to it in the immoral, modern sense, which is to say any sexual behavior that you find pleasurable is good. That's a moral lesson. It just happens to be immoral, and it teaches the immorality of liberalism rather than the true morality of religion. But she's just following the lesson, man. Don't fire her. She's doing her job. You should fire the school board members. You should, in the case of California, you should fire the state administrators over education and the governor, Gavin Newsom. But we can't get mad at the foot soldiers for following the orders. If you get mad at that, you should say maybe she should quit her job, or she probably doesn't know any better. The people who really deserve our ire are the people who are setting the lessons. And that includes the governors, that includes the state administrators, and that includes the number of people, often a very vocal, intense activist minority, but sometimes there's a significant number of them, people, ordinary citizens, who peddle this stuff. This is wrong. If you don't want it in your schools, then you've got to vote the bums out, and then whenever and wherever you can, wield political power to take the power away from these weirdos. Right now, go to puretalk.com/Knowles. One company that I'm very proud to stand behind, a company that's proud to stand behind us in our country, Pure Talk. Veteran-owned with a 100% American workforce, they share our beliefs. That is why Pure Talk is the official cell phone wireless provider of the Daily Wire, but that is not the only reason. Pure Talk also happens to be the most dependable 5G network in the US. They're a top-tier provider at a fraction of the cost of those other companies. You know those companies, AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, companies that do not care about you or what you believe. Mix and match your plans to fit every person in your family. Choose from talk, text, and 5G data for just $20 a month, all the way up to unlimited data with a mobile hotspot, just $55 a month. I guarantee that's less than you're paying for that right now. You vote with how you spend your money. Stop supporting woke wireless companies that do not support you. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. You get great coverage and save while you're doing it. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month because they actually value you. That is puretalk.com/Knowles. Pure Talk Wireless by Americans for Americans. Right now, go to preparewithknowles.com. I love that URL. In a world filled with uncertainty, it is crucial to be ready for whatever comes your way, whether that's a natural disaster, a sudden emergency, or unforeseen circumstances. Having a reliable food storage system can provide you with peace of mind and the assurance that you and your loved ones will be well taken care of. Right now, My Patriot Supply is offering major savings on their popular 4-week emergency food kit to help you stay prepared for anything. Go to preparewithknowles.com, grab this special price before it ends. That your 4-week emergency food kit provides over 2,000 calories each day for optimal strength and energy in stressful situations. You can enjoy a wide variety of My Patriot Supply and can customize your supply. They offer an ultimate breakfast kit, a mega protein kit with real meat, and even a gluten-free kit. The best part is each meal is delicious, has a shelf life of 25 years. Do not wait for disaster to strike before taking action. Invest in your safety and well-being by securing your food storage today. Preparewithknowles.com. Get major savings on your 4-week emergency supply kit. Preparewithknowles.com. Preparewithknowles.com. So there's this case. Holland versus Brackeen. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. This is a challenge to the 1978 Indian Child Welfare Act, which was created to maintain Native American culture by prioritizing Native families in the adoption of Native children. And the case was 7-2. The only people who voted against the claims of the Indian tribes to keep the kids, even if the kids had been adopted by non-Indian parents, the only ones to vote against that were Alito and Thomas, who were the two most conservative judges on the court. The libs plus the other conservatives, they voted in favor of the Indian Child Welfare Act, which prioritizes maintaining Native American culture over the interests of the Native American children, and obviously over the interests of the non-Native American families who have adopted these children. And there are all sorts of legal rights that were involved in this decision. 10th Amendment rights, states' rights, the 14th Amendment, right to equal protection. But at a broader level, this case is a debate between liberalism and Christian conservatism. Because if you've got a debate, if you are on the side of liberalism, classical or otherwise, if you are on the side of nationalism, which crops up at the same time as liberalism, this idea that nations have a pretty firmly absolute right to do whatever the hell they want within their own territories, among their own people. If you believe that, and there are plenty of conservatives who believe that, and there are sort of persuasive arguments, then you're going to side with the Indians here. You're going to side with the Indian Child Welfare Act. You're going to say the maintenance of Indian culture, feather not dot, is more important than the welfare of any individual Indian child. However, if you are on the side of Christian conservatism, you're going to side with the Indian children here against the Indian Child Welfare Act. Because if you're on the side of Christian conservatism, you're probably sympathetic to the particular claims of a particular tribe, and you're not opposed to them having their own culture and traditions and practices. But more fundamentally, you believe that there are eternal truths. You believe that you are called to evangelize all of the nations, and you believe that your understanding of the truth has a special claim all throughout the world. That we're not just going to live in some relativistic hodgepodge of individual cultures and nations, and you can't judge my culture, and I can't judge your culture, and stay out of my borders, man. If you're a traditional Christian conservative, you're going to say, oh no, there is a God, He's a triune God, He loves us, we have the gospel message, we've got a good culture here, and so we're not necessarily going to be eager to go in and conquer you, or we're not going to make you convert at gunpoint or anything like that. But if a Native American family puts their kid up for adoption, we get to raise that kid, we baptize that kid, then we are going to continue to raise that kid. And your claims of cultural particularity or whatever are not going to overcome the claims of baptism and the gospel and the Western culture, Christendom, that we're going to raise this child in. And you're going to see conservatives fall on both sides of this. There are plenty of strong conservative defenders of nationalism, even of classical liberalism to some degree. But it is no coincidence that the people who appear to be the most conservative, and I think the most conservative in a Christian conservative kind of way, Alito and Thomas, they're the ones who come down on the side of the kids. The others, who are a little bit more liberal, a little bit less hardcore, they're the ones who side with the actual court liberals and side with the Indian tribes. Boy, what a great clip that was, huh? If you want the whole show, including the stuff we're not allowed to talk about on here, like a certain issue that we're not allowed to talk about, head on over to dailywireplus.com right now, and also head and check out the Michael Knowles Show at Twitter, @MKnowlesShow. We'll see you there.